I've taken part in the last two Nanovi movies open invite collabs on villainous and musical scenes, so naturally I wanted to join in on the finale to this 5-part saga that I only joined in the middle of. It's a shame that this is going to be the last one. These projects have been fun to participate in, but eventually all good things come to an end and we have to move on. Which leads me nicely into the topic of this video, my favourite animated film of all time, Finding Nemo. Pixar is no stranger to making films with strong emotional climaxes and endings, especially in their golden age. Hell, I'd say it's one of the most overall consistent strengths across damn near everything they've made. So when talking about endings, of course they'd be the first thing that comes to mind for me to make a video on for the One Last Scene collab. And sure, other Pixar films have ended in ways that resonate with me more or elicit a stronger emotional reaction out of me, but Finding Nemo is arguably the one that stuck with me the most for what it represents for the movie's themes and the arcs of the main characters. Finding Nemo is ultimately a story about grief. Marlin experiences the trauma of losing his wife and most of his unborn children at the start of the movie, and we get to see how that trauma affects him. He moves from his old home with a lot of open space to a new one more hidden and protected, while being overprotective of his one remaining child. This sets up his arc of learning to move on from his grief, not letting it consume his entire life and suffocate the people he cares about. But to get to the final stage of that, he has to go through the other 4 stages. The first is denial. The sharks literally call him out on this, acting like he doesn't have a problem despite being obviously paranoid and overly cautious. Then there's anger. He restricts Nemo's freedoms as a means to protect him and has his big outburst when he thinks Nemo's going to swim out into the open waters. Then comes bargaining, which we actually get to see a bit earlier in the movie, as he asks Nemo several times to delay going to school so that he can keep a closer watch over him for longer. And the penultimate one, which we see later in the movie, is depression. We see him lose all hope and reach a low point inside of the whale when it looks like there's no way out, and then he reaches an even lower point when he thinks he sees Nemo dead in the bag. He just fully shuts down and tries to go home and forget everything. The final stage, acceptance, takes place in the penultimate scene after Marlin and Nemo reunite. Both of their development is put on full display as they help to save Dory from the fishing net. Marlin's journey beyond the stages of grief also has him learning how to take risks and put his trust in other people. Risks don't always pay off, but being too cautious can be dangerous and stifling in its own right. He gets shown this by how him not listening to Dory ends up getting her injured in the jellyfish field, while the other risks that they do take pay off. Following the sharks allows them to get the goggles, going to the deep ocean allows them to find them when they get lost, and reaching out and asking the whale for directions gets them to Sydney faster, which has culminated in a literal leap of faith. How could Spider-Verse ever hope to compare? Easily, it does so easily, that's the better scene, but this one's pretty good too. Anyway, Nemo hearing about his father braving all these dangers to rescue him is what gives him the confidence to start taking his own risks and get shit done. So now in this climax with the fishing boat, we have Nemo confidently risking his own life to save Dory, and Marlin letting him go, putting trust in that his son knows what to do. It's a fantastic way to show how the events of the movie have changed them both. They stop the boat and save the day, you know how it all goes, and then we get to the titular last scene. This has a bunch of really nice parallels to the first scene following the title cards. Marlin's now the one to excitedly get Nemo up for school instead of vice versa. Rather than swimming slowly and cautiously to school, they race each other. Marlin even lets Nemo win, which is adorable. And then he actually gets to tell his joke and have it land this time. I've seen people try to cinema sin this bit with, how does going on a big journey make you better at telling jokes? But a lot of what makes jokes funny is their delivery. If you're not confident, they'll just fall flat. So I'd imagine that Marlin's journey giving him that confidence had a knock-on effect on his joke telling. We get to see some of the side characters again from the journey, which is nice that they all got more than one scene. Squirt joining Nemo's classes in exchange student feels very fitting for him, and it's nice that Marlin's letting his son go and make new friends. And I love that the sharks have taken Dory in as part of their vegan group. The reaction here also confirms that they don't make other fish uncomfortable on purpose, they just have really shitty social skills, adding to what makes them my favourite side characters in the film. I think it's really nice that they got to be on good terms with the protagonist in the end, and it's another nice way of showing how far Marlin's come with his ability to trust people, that he's not freaking out at them being near him or his son. Then after Nemo's class takes off, he quickly swims back to give his dad one last hug. And it makes me really appreciate how they wait until now to have the obligatory
"Love you, Dad,"
while having their immediate interaction after the fishing boat being Nemo directly retracting when he said he hated him and visibly hurt him. The following interaction is one of my favourites in the whole film. The line,
"Dad, you can let go now,"
kinda speaks for itself, but I love how Marlin is in this scene especially. He hugs his son and holds on for as long as he can. He's in no rush to let go, but when it does come time to, he offers no resistance. It succinctly gets across how much he's developed in only a few seconds. We get one final funny from Ellen DeGeneres, who confuses her Sesame Reef hyperfixation with reality, and our final line of the film is Marlin saying goodbye himself. The delivery and his facial expressions have this feeling of relief and acceptance. Albert Brooks gives a great performance in this film, and this is easily one of my favourite line reads of his. Then our final shot is of Nemo and his classmates fading away into the background as the gorgeous score plays us out. Well, unless you count the fun little epilogue of the tank gang's escape. I probably wouldn't, but it gives us a great joke to end on before the credits roll, so it's worth mentioning at least. When are they getting a spin-off movie? I'd watch that for sure. It sounds way more interesting than most of the sequels that Pixar actually has made. Might be my bias for this movie talking though, I don't know. And there you go, my brief little analysis on the ending of Finding Nemo, and the climax as well to set up some context. Not Pixar's biggest tearjerker or anything, but definitely one of my favourites. I love Marlin and Nemo's journey in this film, and the climax and ending both bring things full circle in a very satisfying way. I know this video is on the shorter end, but if you want to hear me talk about Pixar for even longer, then I will have a video ranking the 2000s movies coming up soon that you can check out if you're interested. If it's out by the time you're watching this, then I'll link it in the description and an end card. Or if you want to see any longer, more in-depth videos for this One Last Scene collab, I'll link the playlist for that. There are plenty of video essays made by talented people in there. Same goes for the one musical scene collab that I took part in last year. Go check out the video I did on Community's Season 3 opening if you haven't already. And that's all I got for this one. Join me next time as I discuss the even greater genius behind the Swedish ending of Finding Dory.